This is what I've used most of this week. Yeah, not been a great knitting week. We still have one outstanding prize that I'll give you one more week to contact me, and that was for the Whip Be Gone 2023. Check the podcast that I announced that. Get a hold of me via my email with your name, address, and I'll get your prize out to you. That'd be great. Another thing that is going on is that we have Spring Fling 2023 in Ravelry under Recreational Knitting Podcast. There's a place that you can post pictures of your finished objects. Don't forget to put them in your little Ravelry thing. I'm the worst with doing all of that. I don't think I've put anything in the last year, but it will happen. I don't know when. Anyway, there will be prizes, and it runs through May the 31st, and you can put anything that you can convince me is springy. And remember, you can put a color work yoked sweater in there and say it's spring like, and I will buy it. Yeah, anything that basically you're working on. Trying to get those whips down for you, trying to get some motivation, and there'll be a prize picked from that giveaway. And just remember that all of the prizes that I give away here, nobody has sponsored me. Nobody, trust me, they're not gonna sponsor me. Yeah, I buy all the yarn, and I do the postage. And oh, that reminds me, I have a Ko-fi account, and last week it didn't seem to work, but I think I've gotten the bugs worked out of that. So if you feel that you ever want to contribute, that would help me with postage. But I've set a goal that I'd like to go to Rhinebeck this year, and gonna need some Airbnb money, I guess. I don't know. So I put a goal of $300. So if you feel the need, no pressures. Trust me, no pressures at all here. All right, next week I'm gonna pick 2 winners for my podiversary, my first podiversary. One from my previous podcast. If you leave a comment of what you're working on, you'll be entered. And one from the community tab, where I've put, that it's my podiversary. And one from each place. So if you go and put on each place, you'll have a better chance to win. So I think that's all the administrative stuff I've got. I have no finished objects, folks. Knitting, yes, no finished objects. The youngest child still has not sent me your measurements, so I think this week is the week I'm just going to start snipping where I think that heel is going to work. She has a size 5, 5 1/4 women's shoe size, so I can't even fathom that. So I'm just going to have to measure, and those will be finished next week. Okay. What have I worked on this week? Well, as I said in the earlier part of this, this has been my tool that I've used the most this week. Yeah, it's been a week. We've had some great times at the beach, and you don't knit at the beach unless you have like a slab where you don't get sand in your knitting, which I don't. So this is my another anchor tee, and I had to rip out 2.5 rows stitch by stitch using this. You see how dark blue that is? It's really lovely. I really love it. But it's easy to make it moss stitch because it's, you know, knit one, purl one. You get off, or in my case, knit 2 stitches together when you're sitting in a relatively darker room watching TV. Just heed my suggestion and knit navy blue when you have lots of light. This is the Yume sweater. No, it's not the Yume sweater. I didn't work a bit on the Yume sweater. This is the Petite Knit Anchor Summer Shirt. This is my 4th one. I think I like it. I am knitting size 3XL because her sizing works that way for me. I usually wear an XL, but she's such a peanut that it's kind of how it is. Anyway, Remix Light is what I'm using. This is, I don't think they have a name for it. It is color 6949. And this is the one with nylon, cotton, acrylic, silk, and linen. Somebody asked on the last podcast if this washed well and how I liked it after washing and wearing it. It stretches a bit, still love it. It's great. I like it. I feel that it did stretch during wearing, but when I washed it, it blocked up nicely. So I'm pretty convinced that that's a nice one to use. All right. Another thing you guys helped me decide was what socks I was going to cast on. And maybe some of you saw my little short. Conifer 1. Let's see what the numbers were. As of when I counted this a couple days ago, it was 27 to 19. Thank you for making my decision easy. Yeah. These were to be for my son-in-law, who during the filming of this podcast, and there's Luke, during the filming of this podcast said he didn't want wool socks. He wanted cotton and bamboo socks. So these will probably go to my daughter. What are you gonna do? Says his feet sweat too much with wool socks. I don't think he's worn wool socks, but that's just me. Anyway, keeping that in my bag from Mandy of Mouse Makes podcast. Love it. Today is a perfect day to smile. It really is. It's beautiful out. All right, digging into my pile of bags, I found a sock that I hadn't worked on for a bit. Totally had forgotten about them. They were at the bottom of the bag. I guess I showed these to you last time, 4 or 5 episodes ago. And there's my little snowflake. So it must have been winter. Yeah, these are going to a friend of mine. Just hadn't got to them. As I recall, I started them on a lower needle and had to rip them out because they were just too tight. Anyway, here's the pattern. And I'm getting close to a toe, so I'll have a hoe maybe next week. That would be good. A hoe would be nice. Those of you that don't know what a hoe is, it's a half object. So, and that's in my yoga bag. Animals doing yoga. All right. I really don't know what's wrong with me, but I did cast this on last week for car knitting, and I've made a little progress here and there with it. Here it is. This is the, oh my goodness, mindfulness shawl. You can't find it on Ravelry. They have their own web page that you can find it. This is what it looks like. It has a tricot bind off, which is kind of why I like it. It's a little different. And the designer is Heike Gittens for madewithloops.co.uk. I don't know whether you can read that or not, but that's where you can find that pattern if you're at all interested. It's an asymmetrical, has a really lovely way that she treats the edging there. So, yeah. This was Full Moon Fibers. I won a $25 gift certificate, and this was part of it. I ended up buying something else so that I could get reduced shipping. Canadian shipping is craziness, and to the US it was like more than the actual skein. But those of you that live in Canada and you can afford that shipping cost, it's Full Moon Fibers, and all of the fields is the colorway that I was gifted. And it's Solar Sock 80/20, and it's 420 yards. So it's a nice length. And I'm keeping this one in my I like to party, and by party, I mean knit. And this is kind of like something that I just love. I didn't stab anybody today. It's a good day. Ever since COVID, I've liked people less and less and have less patience. Now, some of you might say, well, that was, 2 years, 3 years ago. Maybe it's just you're getting older, which may factor into it, but really I like people less and less, especially in traffic. And people have gotten more rude in traffic, in lines, in stores, in restaurants. Yeah, they're just rude. And then I accidentally got some West Yorkshire Spinners yarn and may or may not have cast on, and I'm decreasing now for the toe, but I need to get the magic loop. Yeah, and these will be for my daughter as well, the little one that has little feet. So yeah, she works in a dog rescue or animal rescue. They do all kinds of rescues of animals, but yeah, she's in and out in the winter, and wool socks are always good. So that's it for my knitting this week. I spent the week, two days at the beach in the beautiful sun with a sunburn now. And yeah, I would suggest that you all wear sunscreen if you are better than me, you'll be doing that. Yeah, I wore some sunscreen, but I didn't reapply as much. All right. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, just very, very short, I want to give a shout out to some of the podcasts, the smaller podcasts that I watch, and have been very supportive of my own podcast and have given me a great deal of joy during COVID. I started watching podcasts, I think it was really during this trip, because we had, even though we had two TVs, well, 3 TVs, but one in the bedroom, one in the living room, they were on the same channel. So if he was watching a basketball game, I had to watch a basketball game. We got that sorted out a little bit into the trip. But yeah, I wasn't going to do that. So I started watching podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for years, but I, thought I'll get on YouTube and, So I started out watching Fruity Knitting, and that was my first podcast, knitting podcast that came up. And I started watching that. I think I watched all of theirs. And of course, she has a very large audience, as many of them do. And I'm not going to tell you about those. I'm going to tell you about some of the smaller ones that I watch. A Lefty Knitter podcast by Aquila is one of the first smaller podcasts I started to watch, because she's from Baltimore, and that's where I am from. And I enjoyed her so much, and I have actually met her. When we were in the Maryland area, we met at a local place to her, and just chit-chatted about whatever and ate some pizza. It was great. We could have done it longer, but she needed to get home to her family. So that's a Lefty Knitter podcast. If you don't know about it, check her out. Another one that I watch is Mouse's Makes, and that's by Mandy. She has a co-host, Miss Poppet, who is a beautiful calico girl cat who has a bit of an attitude, I'd say. Yeah, and Mandy has just taken up yarn dyeing and seems to have a huge gift for it. Check her out. She broadcasts from England, and I don't know where in England, but she lives down the road from her son, her married son, which is pretty fun. So, yeah, someday I'm going to get back to England, and we're going to have tea and coffee and all the things together. Yes. Another smaller podcast that I watch is Wild Cottage Knitting, and she comes from Ireland, County Clare, and her name is Susan, and she spins, and she has beautiful gardens, and the bugs are eating me alive right now. Yeah, right in there. Get out. Beautiful, beautiful scenery. It's never winter in Ireland, it appears. It's always green. Beautiful. Another podcaster that I have been watching is Dear Designs. Denise is the person podcasting, and she's a yarn dyer, and she has a Ko-fi shop that she sells markers, and if you're in the UK, she will send you things. I think she only sends to the UK. I could be totally wrong about that. I might be thinking someone else. But she dyes yarn, and she, all the little trinkets that we all like to use, yarn markers and, progress keepers and all of that. Denise is just a very wonderful person, and she does a lot of, she's just recently got an e-spinner, which I'm dying to ask her all about, because I want one. Like I need another thing to do. And last but not least is Las Vegas Knits, which is a takeoff on Las Vegas Knights, which is some kind of sportsy team. I think it's hockey. I wouldn't know. And Susie is the podcaster that comes to you from Las Vegas. And she has kind of a bent, as you can say, into if she's knitting a sweater, it's going to be something that is for the desert heat. And she knits a ton of socks. Yeah, lots of socks. And then I'm going to put a word in for another favorite podcaster who is a huge podcaster, and she has nothing to do with knitting. But she is a lawyer. I know, right? She's a lawyer, and her name is Emily D. Baker, and she covers trials. I got to know her when she covered the Depp Heard trial, and she commentates on what is happening within the courtroom. She just did the Alex Murdaugh case, again, telling us the lawyer did this because he did this, and this is what this means, and that term is what this means, and it's quite helpful. Those of you that are frustrated, future law students might love her podcast. It's pretty interesting. And I'm just going to give a shout out to her, Emily D. Baker. If you're interested in that kind of thing, she's fascinating, she's funny, and she likes the cursey words. So if you don't like the cursey words, you might not like Emily. Anyway, I'm going to be showing you some beautiful footage of the places that we've been in Florida so far. And I hope you enjoy it. And I will see you again next week. Thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, all the YouTube-y things. Thanks. Bye. No. What? Can't hear you. What?
You're a barrel of laughs.
Yeah. My hands are getting numb.